I got your recording.
Yeah, I'm recording now. So
Okay.
welcome to Expert Views on Alternative Dispute Resolution Ever, a podcast about simplifying ADR in a bid to attract more and more users to settle their disputes with ADR. My name is DrChinweEgbunike-Umegbolu, PhD from the University of Brighton, United Kingdom. I'm very pleased to welcome Charlie Young, an experienced mediator, a facilitator in Oregon Foreclosure Avoidance Programme. He has a BA from St. John's Seminary and served as a priest for the Baker City, Oregon Diocese from 1958 to 1977. Charlie is the author of Constructive Communication with a Path for Challenging Situations. And his book results from his experiences as a pastor, flight instructor, corporate pilot, human resources director, safety officer, head trainer of TQM, and 23 plus years as a mediator. Without further ado, welcome to the show, Charlie.
Thank you.
Yeah.
It's an honor to be here. I'm looking forward to this interview.
Oh, thank you for coming as well. All right, so let me quickly go straight to the question. So the first question is, what does constructive inclusive communication entail?
That's a really good question. And I start off with, I'll summarize it in this way. I consider the four terms constructive, inclusive, civil, and mindful communication being synonymous. They're all synonymous for me. So when I refer to constructive or inclusive or civil or mindful communication, I'm talking about the same thing. So what do we mean by these types of communication?
Yeah.
It's really a development of the concept of active listening. So when I'm talking to someone, I talk in a way that I'm sending a message to them. I really want to understand what you're trying to share with me. I might not agree with it. I want to understand it. And so constructive communication in my book, I give the behaviors and the skills and the problems and the impasses people run across. My book is very concrete, so it addresses these issues with specific examples of tools and behaviors to use so that you can have a really mindful communication with this person. Yeah. Often I don't come up with agreement, but it helps me even understand my position by understanding the other person's position. Does that kind of make it clear to you?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, and this, I've come to these conclusions from all my experiences. And then for the last 24 years, I've been a mediator. And I find out by talking to other mediators, 80% plus of the mediations we do are a result of a lack of good communication, good civil dialogue. That's why I really wrote the book and why I'm so convinced we have to teach this in our schools. Did I make that clear enough for you?
Yeah, you've done justice to that. And then, the second question was, where can you use this? But I think you've answered that question.
Yeah, but I want to give you a good example.
Oh, cool. Go ahead.
Yeah, in our country, and I don't know about the United Kingdom, we could use it in our government. Mm-hmm. When government people are talking, and they could talk in a civil, constructive, inclusive, mindful way, we'd have a better world to live in, because every bill that they passed or law or regulation would include the thoughts of everyone. Yeah. So it really applied to everyone. And another place that my wife and I, she helped me write my book and everything. Yeah. So it really helps at home. Yeah. Like last night, we had something we kind of disagreed on. So we go into this inclusive communication,
Mm.
and it helps our relationship. Can you
Yeah.
imagine kids in school, and particularly in high school level, and they know how to communicate with the girls or the boys? They're going
Yeah.
to create good relationships, aren't they?
Yeah.
So it's applicable just about everywhere you can think,
That's
particularly in school. I wish I
particularly in
had,
school. Yeah.
don't you wish you had this when you were in school?
Yeah, 100%. Like, that's one of the things I'm advocating for, especially with mediation and alternative dispute resolution, for read to be made compulsory in schools, especially schools in Africa, like, and even here in the United Kingdom, like litigation, or some of those courses like private law taught and all that are really like compulsory, whereas alternative dispute resolution are not. Even some schools have not yet, they've not started teaching it, and some teach it, but it's not really compulsory. So with mediation, this is where you can use inclusive communication as well,
Yes,
isn't it? Yeah.
exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. If only our kids were taught this in school, they're
Yeah.
taught how to win, how
Yeah.
to be dominant, how
Yeah.
to debate. Let's
Yeah.
tell them how to have good communication.
Communication. Yeah. Yeah. All right.
Okay.
Thank you so much for that.
You're
So
welcome.
also, I think you mentioned about perception. So in your book, so is perception essential for inclusive communication then?
Oh, I'm glad you asked that one. I love that one. And you asked me a question about confirmation bias.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. And I did a little research on that, and it fits in perfectly with I think, my concept of perceptions. In other words, you were brought up in Africa.
Yeah.
I was brought up in the United States.
Yeah.
Our experiences are entirely different. And out of those experiences, whether it came from a good family or maybe bad parents, those experiences, particularly in the years up to 7 or 8 years old,
Yeah.
they really become embedded in your mind.
Mm.
So let's just say I was raised, I can talk to you honestly. Let's just say I was raised thinking some particular culture isn't as good as mine.
Mm-hmm.
That's the way I was raised.
Yeah.
Now, every time I deal with these people, that's back in my mind. And this is where I disagree with a lot of people. Many people look upon that as prejudice, but there's not a prejudgment.
Yeah.
It became part of my experience. So my perceptions are a result of my experiences.
Yeah.
And some of them I know are there. Some are so embedded, I don't know they're there, but they affect the way I relate to others.
Mm-hmm.
And so the constructive inclusive communication helps people to make themselves aware of these perceptions that exist in their minds.
Yeah.
And so they can maybe change them to see it from a different perception.
Yeah.
You follow? We're in pretty deep stuff here, but can you follow my thinking there?
Yeah. I was about asking, like, so when you have a rigid perception, like you're not open-minded, then
Yeah.
that means that would, affect, communication during mediation or doing any kind of talk.
Yeah, but some people, doctor, think they're open-minded, but they have these perceptions in their back. We all have them.
Yeah. Yeah.
They're in the back of their mind. They're so embedded there, they don't even know they're affecting their communication, and yet they think they're open-minded. I think I'm very open-minded, but I think I have a lot of things back here
Yeah.
that I'd like to talk to people about.
Yeah.
Like talking to someone. I'm going to give you a good example. I love
Go ahead.
examples.
Yeah, go
My
ahead.
example is this. I lived in southern Mexico in the jungle for 8 months.
Yeah.
Very primitive tribe.
Mm-hmm.
I went in with perceptions about what this tribe is like. when I left, I thought they were one of the finest people in the world. You just, but until I have experienced it, you can really feel it. I see something from a different point of view. I need to experience it to some way. And maybe the experience just comes through talking with someone else that knows these people, even though I don't get to know them.
Yeah.
To me, this experience of life is so important. This is not to say there isn't an underlying truth. My experience is the truth in my mind.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah, but I agree with them. All right, thank you so much. I think you've answered the basis and importance of perceptions as well. What are the basis and importance of that? I think you've done justice to that. So how can confirmation bias affect, communication?
Oh, it affects it tremendously.
Hmm.
That's why you have to use these tools they're talking about. In other words, everyone in our country, I can't talk about your country, but if you're, say, a very conservative type person in our country, we call them Republicans, you tend to watch the news that's Republican.
Yeah.
If you're a Democrat and become more liberal, you tend to listen to the news from the other side. And the best way to overcome that is to listen to both sides.
Yeah.
I sent you something that really affects this, and I'll read it to you. And everyone should accept, I think, should realize this is true. Never accept that you understand a controversial or very complicated concept. Actively listen to both sides.
Yeah.
So if I just listen to the news on one side, and even just listen to the news on the other side,
Yeah.
I still don't think I have a true picture because I haven't had a conversation with someone on it. So I've got to use these skills of mindful civil communication
Exactly.
to break through that confirmation.
Yeah.
Do you agree that confirmation bias is a big thing?
Yeah, 100%.
I think it is.
Yeah, yeah.
Very big.
Yeah, and what you've said has, if people can apply that, then that would make make communication more progressive. Yes, and
Yes,
most times in a meeting or in a mediation process, people are already biased. They don't even want to hear from both sides or hear, so they've already made up their mind. You're coming in here to like, tackle this person. But whereas if you could have the passion to, listen to both sides, then that would
and actively, I underline that word actively.
Yeah.
Actively listen to both
Actively,
sides.
yeah.
Not be passive, but ask questions,
Actively, yeah.
clarify, paraphrase.
Yeah, 100%. You're right. All right. Thank you so much for that. So what are the main hindrances to inclusive communication?
That's a tough question. main hindrances, one is trust.
Trust, yeah.
If you don't have trust, what do you have? You've got to have trust. That, and I'm using my fingers here if you follow me.
Yeah.
Trust doesn't go from here to here.
Yeah.
Got my book.
Yeah.
From here to here. It goes in small steps. So if you have a problem, you only come down a step. So how do you build those small steps? One is you develop responsibility between you and the other person. You become dependable, and I'm dependable.
Yeah.
Trust and being dependable. Third one is truth.
Truth, yeah.
So you develop that slowly, step by step. So we get up to high and you have a problem, you only come down one step. So trust is one of the big ones.
Yeah.
Other one is to learn how to articulate concepts clearly. You want to be able to explain something in a very clear way. Okay. I'm going to my book here and I'm looking at chapter 2, and that's where I have some of these hindrances to communicate. Oh, and the last one, this is why it skipped my mind. I don't know. But I use it all the time in mediation. Every mediation,
Yeah.
I say this. You're asking about getting over these problems.
Yeah.
It's called good faith.
Good faith.
And here's the way I explain it in my mediations. People later on refer to it, say a half hour in the mediation, they refer back. Good faith is simply this. When the other person is talking, do not, and I repeat it, do not try to figure out how to answer. Try to figure out what. So if you're trying to figure out what the other person is saying,
Yeah.
you're doing all the things to answer that first question you asked me, using all those behaviors and skills and tools to understand what they're trying to say. But if you're trying to figure out how to answer them, you're not trying to figure out what they're trying to say. You're trying to figure out what I want to say to them. That's the real core of active listening. So you've got trust, being able to say clearly what you want to say, and then good.
Good.
Me, those are the three good things.
Three good. Okay. Wow. So trust, truth, and actively listening. Articulating concepts and good faith. Wow.
Good faith is really critical. And I can tell you, people refer in mediations I have, and I say, good faith is trying to understand the perception of the other person.
Awesome.
And they'll refer to that word perception later on during the mediation.
Yeah.
That brings out the fact everyone is different. I'm talking quickly. I hope I'm not going too fast for you.
No.
Okay. Okay.
No, that's all right.
That answer that one to you, for you?
Yeah, you did justice to that.
Okay.
Thank you so much. Okay, so the final question is in your book, Constructive Communication, a path for challenging situations, you use the acronym, is it VEX? VECX.
Oh, VEX. Yeah.
And you was trying to figure out, I don't think I had the patience to like read through it. So can you just explain this concept?
It's a critical concept, and it's a term used by mediators, I think, throughout the world.
Yeah.
VEX stands for V is validate, C is empathize, E is empathize, C is clarify, S is summarize.
All right.
Now let me explain why they're so important, okay?
Yeah.
Validating has to do with facts. This is very important because E is an entirely different concept.
Yeah.
I'm validating this person's facts, saying, I might not agree with him.
Yeah.
I'm saying to him something like this, Joe, the thought you have is really important. I'd like to talk more about it. When I say that, what happens? I'm validating him. It's his thought.
Awesome.
So I'm validating the facts he holds, even though I might not agree with him. So I'm validating him. Okay? Yeah. That's why validate is so important. Then E is empathize. Empathy, I have a hard time with it. I gotta admit it. I wish I was better at it. But empathy is I'm identifying with this person's emotions.
Yeah.
And emotions, talk about that back of the head. Emotions come from our needs. So I'll give you a couple of simple examples. One time I just said to one of the participants in a mediation, all you're looking for is an apology.
Mhm.
We're talking about a lot of money.
Yeah.
That person, and I said, what you really want is an apology. And he said, yes. The other person apologized. And they had a resolution in just
Oh.
minutes because the participant identified, and for me, the mediator, I'm sending a message, you really got hurt. And I can feel that.
Hmm.
That's empathy.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then when you empathize with a person, surprisingly, something happens in conversation and mediation.
Mhm.
Often when there's a really good empathization,
Yeah.
I empathize with this person,
Yeah.
start to explain why the whole, we call them interest.
Mm.
Empathy often opens the door to deeper conversation, the
Exactly.
reasons behind what you're talking about.
Yeah.
So validate, empathize, now clarify.
Clarify.
That's one clarification. I'm kind of slow thinking, just being honest with you. So I clarify a lot.
Yeah.
And when I clarify something, I'm saying back to the person what I thought. I'm clarifying what they said to me.
Yeah.
And you know what? They often clarify back to me. They'll say, Charlie, that's just about what I meant, but I want to clarify. That I'm clarifying in my mind, is that really what you said by asking questions? Then the fourth one is close to clarifying, it's paraphrasing.
Hmm.
I say back in my own words, I summarize, I should say, summarizing back in my own words what I heard that person say.
Say.
That's telling him, this is important to me, and I realize it's important to you, and I'm trying to understand it. Did I get it right?
Yeah.
He'll often say, yeah, you got it almost right, but there's a slight change.
Hmm.
In my book, there's a part where we talk about the stalling of an airplane. I think my experience as a flight instructor. And a lot of people have a misconception of what stalling an airplane means. It has nothing to do with the engine.
Yeah.
And so we have a conversation. It's a story in the book.
Yeah.
And we clarify, and we both end up with the same concept.
Yeah.
That's what clarify or summarize does. Okay.
All
So it's
right.
validate, empathize,
Empathize.
clarify, summarize.
Summarize.
I'm running them through, and I'm talking to people. I'm running these through my mind. What
Yeah.
really helped the situation?
All right. Thank
Okay.
you so much. And thank you so much for your insights. I appreciate you taking the time off from your busy schedule to share these very useful resources on EVA. And just a quick recap of what inclusive communication is, which I think it leads to civil dialogue as well.
Yes.
Yeah. It's
Uh,
sorry.
yeah, can
It's
I end with one thought?
Yeah, go ahead then. Go ahead.
So went in with this ear, went out the other ear.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, it's this. I hope people get my book. I think
Yeah.
it helps.
Yeah.
But if they want it free, I
Hmm.
have PowerPoints with commentary. I have lesson plans. They're all free.
Mm-hmm.
All I have to do is email me.
Okay, cool.
So if you could put my email out in
Yeah,
some
we'll do
way,
that.
yeah, because I want to sell my book because I got to pay my bills. But the main thing is I want people to realize this is really important for the future of the world.
Yeah. Yeah.
To have people communicate
100%.
well.
Yeah. 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 You're right. So that's essentially inclusive communication is the development of active listening, not passively, actively listening to
Actively.
both sides.
Right. Yeah.
And then of course I have to develop trust, have good faith, and what
Good
else?
faith.
Good faith. Yeah, good faith.
Now,
Yeah.
before you leave,
And yeah, be truthful and articulate.
yeah,
You
very
know, as
important.
well. And the final one was to essential elements for this communication to be what would I say, to benefit both parties.
Both parties. So
And
you
for,
don't.
it's for the
you
mediator to empathize with you know, the situation with the parties, and that would also make the parties to open up, you know, and clarify issues, ask questions to make sure, to show them that they're being heard as well, and then summarize.
Now, there's one last
and validate. The first one is to validate. So kind of, yeah. Yeah.
Can I leave you with one thought?
Yeah, go ahead.
Once in a while, people don't want to communicate. You
Yeah.
run across, I mean, they just, so I take a break, say we can get together later or something like that. You can't resolve every situation now. Sometimes you have to walk away and say, you know, I need time to just relax and think about this, because they get so emotional, they are not thinking
straight. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, so so that's another element to which the communication most times might not be possible. So they can take a break and then they can come back and then carry on. Yeah, that's essentially what mediation is all about as well.
Yes.
All right, thank you so much. I hope potential users would also be able to, you know, outline this in their process for effective inclusive communication to be adhered to, because they have the right to, because they have the party autonomy to do so in outlining their process. So yeah, thank you so much, Charlie, for coming. I'm so grateful. All right, you take good care of yourself. Bye.
I will. Thank you.
Thank you. Cheers. Bye.